The crumpled shipping receipt with the handwritten "Pine, do not scan" was the match in 12-year-old Sofia Alvarez's palm, and the billionaire CEO it could burn was standing in his own marble lobby, pretending nothing in his world could catch. Hale Global Logistics headquarters smelled like cooled stone and filtered air. The floor shone like a still pond. Sofia's sneakers, black, taped at the toes, made a small squeak she couldn't control, so she controlled everything else. Her posture stayed straight, her chin stayed level, her eyes stayed sharp. The receptionist's smile hovered where warmth should have been. "Hi, sweetie. Are you here with?" "No," Sofia said. "You lost a box." The receptionist blinked, smile tightening. "Customer service is online." Sofia lifted the receipt. It looked fragile in the lobby's perfection, but it was the most solid thing she owned. "I did online," she said, 3 times. "Then I called. Then they closed the ticket. Now I'm here." A security guard shifted near the glass doors. He watched Sofia's hands like she might be holding something dangerous. She was. The receptionist leaned forward, eyes catching the tracking prefix, the kind regular customers never saw. "That shipment is corporate," she said. "It's coats," Sofia replied. "Socks, hygiene kits, inhalers. Winter started early. We have toddlers." The guard took a step closer, making a quiet decision about where his hands would go if he had to move her. Sofia looked at him without flinching. "I'm not here to break anything," she said. "I'm here because something was already broken." Behind them, the elevator chimed. Grant Hale stepped out like the building had assembled itself for him. Tall, controlled, dark suit cut clean. A face that practiced restraint like a religion. 2 staff trailed him, one with a tablet, one murmuring into an earbud. Grant didn't glance at either. He didn't need to. He moved like he expected the world to give him right of way. His eyes swept the lobby, landed on Sofia's taped shoes, then the paper in her hand. Not because paper mattered, but because a child in his lobby was a problem that hadn't been scheduled. "What's this?" he asked. The receptionist exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. "Sir, there's a young lady I know," Grant said, gaze fixed on Sofia. "Why is she here?" Sofia raised the receipt. "Because your company lost a shelter shipment," she said. "And your online form pretends it can't see the tracking number." Grant's jaw set. "Customer service handles claims." "They didn't," Sofia said. "They closed it." Grant stepped closer, stopping at the edge of the desk. "Give it to me." Sofia didn't move. "Not unless you read it first." A faint flicker crossed his face, surprised that a kid had conditions. It hardened into irritation. "I can read it after you hand it over." "You can read it while I hold it," Sofia replied. "Because if I let it go, it disappears like the box." The guard's fingers hovered near his radio. The receptionist stopped breathing. Grant stared, measuring her the way he measured shipment lanes. Then he leaned in. Sofia tilted the paper. Printed lines, tracking ID, origin, warehouse code, destination, Harper Street, shelter date, weight, non-rev. And in the corner, black ink on crumpled fiber, rerouted, R7, Pine off. "Do not scan." Grant's pupils tightened. His hand flexed once, at his side, small and involuntary, then stilled. "What is this?" he asked. "It was stapled to the claim printout," Sofia said. "It wasn't there before. Somebody added it." "Somebody didn't want it scanned." Grant straightened, eyes slicing to the receptionist. "Get legal, now." "Yes, sir." Grant's gaze snapped back to Sofia. "Come with me." "No," Sofia said. A beat of silence fell like a dropped tool. Grant's mouth tightened. "Excuse me. I'm not going into a private office with a billionaire I don't know." Sofia said calmly. I'm not stupid. Grant's nostrils flared. He didn't like being reminded the world could say no. You're in my building, and I'm staying in public, Sofia said. That's why I came. Grant looked at the guard. Conference room, off the lobby, he said. Glass walls. The guard nodded, relieved at a compromise he could defend. Grant turned to Sofia. Controlled environment, he said. Sofia's gaze held his. Transparent environment, she corrected, and she walked 2 steps behind him, never in front, never letting him set the pace like a leash. The conference room had glass walls and a long table that looked unused by anything messy. Sofia sat where she could see the hallway and the lobby beyond. She kept the receipt under her palm. Grant remained standing a moment, like sitting might reduce his authority. Then he sat forward, elbows near the table, posture tight. Dana Pierce arrived, corporate counsel, in a navy suit, legal pad in hand. Another man, with a badge clipped to his belt, slid in quietly. Grant's assistant shut the door and stayed outside, visible through the glass. Dana's eyes flicked to Sofia. Sofia Alvarez. Sofia nodded once. Dana's voice softened into practiced neutrality. We understand you have a concern regarding a shipment, a missing shipment, Sofia said. And that note. Dana leaned in to read the handwritten corner. Her pen paused mid-air. May I see it? Sofia slid it across the table, but kept 2 fingers on the edge. Copy it in front of me, she said. Grant's jaw tightened at the insistence, but he didn't interrupt. Dana's gaze returned to the note. This appears internal. It appears like theft, Sofia said. Grant's eyes snapped. Watch your language. Sofia didn't blink. Watch your company, she replied, quiet enough that it didn't sound like a performance. The badgeman cleared his throat. Route 7 is a mid-mile transfer corridor, he said. Non-rev shouldn't go there. Grant's head turned sharply. Then why would it say, rerouted? The badgeman swallowed. Could be an error, could be deliberate, Sofia said. Grant's fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. His control wasn't slipping loudly, it was slipping in micro-movements. Tightened jaw, a knuckle going pale, a breath held a beat too long. Dana asked, can you tell us what was in the shipment? Coats, Sofia said, socks, hygiene kits, inhalers, in a cooler pack. It was for the shelter, for kids. Dana's eyes flickered. How are you connected to Harper Street Shelter? Sofia felt the question try to pull a story out of her like a thread. She refused to unravel. My mom and I stay there sometimes, she said. I help with paperwork because I can read. That's all you need. Grant's expression flickered, something that wasn't kindness, something closer to recognition, quickly hidden. Grant's voice cut in. Pull the scan history, he ordered. Now, names, full chain. Dana nodded to the badgeman, who stepped out, already speaking into his radio. Sofia watched Grant's face. You'll investigate, she said. We will, Grant replied. Sofia waited. The waiting made the silence heavier. It made the adults fill it with promises. Grant's eyes narrowed. You don't believe me. I believe you want this to go away, Sofia said. I don't know if you want it fixed. That landed. Grant didn't like being seen so clearly. Dana rolled in a copier. She copied the receipt while Sofia watched the paper feed through like a mouth. Sofia kept the original. When Dana finished, Grant stood. You'll hear from us within 48 hours. No, Sofia said. Grant's eyes sharpened. Excuse me. You'll hear from me, Sofia said. I'll come back tomorrow. If you don't have an answer, I'll come back again. And if you keep closing tickets, I'll take this to someone who likes headlines. Dana's pen stopped. The room tightened. Grant's lips pressed together, then parted. 24 hours, he said. Sofia nodded once. Good. She didn't let them escort her. She walked out on her own, through the glass hallway, into the lobby, into the street, where people existed, where cameras weren't owned by Hale Global, where safety came from being seen. She didn't go straight back to the shelter. She went to the public library first, because libraries were public by law, and quiet by habit, and she needed both. She took a computer, opened a blank document, and typed, tracking ID, date, HGL lobby, Grant Hale present, Dana Pierce present. Note read, Pine, do not scan. Then she added, if returning tomorrow, tell Nina and Devlin first. Stay public. Sofia didn't trust her brain to hold everything clean when fear tugged at it. Adults loved to misremember kids. She printed a page from an HGL PDF. She found an efficient lane initiative about rerouting low-priority shipments to secondary corridors. The words low priority sat like grit on her tongue. She folded the page and slid it into her backpack behind the receipt. On her way out, she copied the details of a free legal clinic from a bulletin board and added them to her log. Not as a threat, as a plan. Back at Harper Street shelter, the hallways smelled like disinfectant and overcooked pasta, paint chipped in corners where too many lives brushed past. Mr. Devlin, the director, looked up from a pile of mail when Sofia stepped into his office. You're back, he said, relief and fear mixing. I talked to the CEO, Sofia said. Mr. Devlin blinked. Grant Hale. Sofia nodded and set the receipt on the desk like a piece of fragile evidence. He saw the note. Mr. Devlin's hands trembled. Sofia, this could they already did it, Sofia said. Whatever it is, Mr. Devlin swallowed. They can drop us as a partner, he whispered. We rely on coats showing up, Sofia replied, and inhalers. They didn't, so we rely on ourselves now. She slid the printed PDF page across his desk. They have a reroute initiative, she said. Non-rev goes secondary. That's us. Mr. Devlin's eyes scanned the page, his face strained. Sofia's voice softened, just enough to fit the truth. I'm going back tomorrow, she said, but I'm not doing it alone. If I go, you email Nina Park first, the lawyer. Tell her where I'm going and when I expect to be back. And you stay by the front desk phone. If I don't call, by the time I say, you call Nina. Mr. Devlin's eyes widened. Sofia, it's a plan, Sofia said. Public spaces only. Glass rooms only. No private offices. No cars. No, let's talk somewhere quieter. Mr. Devlin's throat worked. He nodded, ashamed and grateful at the same time. Okay, he whispered. I'll do it. Sofia didn't smile. She didn't want him to feel better. She wanted him to do better. That night, Sofia ate half her sandwich and saved half for later, because later always arrived hungry. In the common room, a little boy pushed a toy truck across the carpet, wheezing faintly when he laughed too hard. Sofia watched him until her chest tightened. Then she went back to her homework, because doing something and surviving had to happen at the same time. In Hale Global's operations center, Grant Hale stood before a wall of screens showing pulsing maps of trucks and yards. He liked the room because it made chaos look like a controllable graphic. An analyst scrolled through logs. There's a pattern, he said, voice tight. Grant's gaze didn't blink. Show me. Rows of data filled the screen. Tracking IDs marked non-rev. Exception codes stamped like a quiet hand over a mouth. The code, Pine. Grant's jaw tightened. Who can apply exception codes? Operations leadership, the analyst replied. Certain supervisors. Permissions list. Pull it, Grant said. The list appeared. Malcolm Reeve, supervisors, a systems administrator. Grant's pulse jumped. Malcolm his coup, a man who wore competence like cologne. Where do the shipments go after Yard 14? Grant asked. The analyst hesitated. They're assigned a holding bay, he said. Then there's no final scan. Grant's fingers flexed once, then locked behind his back. Find the bay inventory. The analyst typed. His face paled. It's off ledger, he said. Physically on site, but not tracked in the standard system. Grant heard off ledger and felt his control tilt. Not collapse, tilt. He tightened his jaw until it ached. A shadow, he said. His phone buzzed. Dana, federal aid contracts possible. Criminal exposure. Grant's stomach turned. He hated uncertainty like he hated noise. Instinctively, physically, he walked fast to his office. He didn't look at the people moving aside for him. His breathing shortened. His hand tapped once against his thigh, involuntary. He forced it still. Malcolm Reeve arrived, smiling, the kind of smile that made investors sleep. Grant, Malcolm said. I heard theirs. Grant shoved a printout toward him. Yard 14 Pine, off Ledger Bay. Explain. Malcolm's eyes flicked over it. A fractional pause. Looks like lane optimization, he said smoothly. Non-rev kept out of revenue lanes. Efficiency. Grant's voice sharpened. Don't use my word like perfume. Malcolm's smile thinned. You asked for reductions, he said. You demanded invisibility. Non-rev is tolerated only if it doesn't interfere with profit. Grant leaned in. Where did the goods go? Malcolm hesitated. Held, he said. Held for what? A beat. Malcolm's chin lifted. Resell, he admitted, like naming a tool, monetizing waste. Grant felt heat rise behind his ribs. His panic wanted an outlet, wanted to become anger, loud enough to restore control. He kept it contained. You stole donated goods, Grant said. Redirected, Malcolm corrected, voice tightening. Half the time, shelters don't even notice. Don't, Grant snapped. Do not insult shelters to justify taking from them. Malcolm's eyes flashed. You're going to pretend you're shocked. He said, you built the lane. You signed the protocol. You told us non-rev should be invisible. Invisible. Grant saw Sofia's taped shoes again, and that word struck him differently. His throat tightened, his hand flexed, then stilled. Send me the documentation, Grant said, voice low. Now. Malcolm's smile returned, colder. Gladly, he said, and left like a man who believed leverage was still in his pocket. Sofia's next day wasn't boardrooms and screens. It was school, where a teacher talked about fractions while Sofia's stomach counted minutes. It was a locker, jammed with books, because a backpack strap had snapped and she'd tied it with shoelace. It was lunch, where she ate slowly, so hunger wouldn't roar in class. Between classes, she checked the library email account Mr. Devlin had let her use. Nina Park had replied to the shelter's message. I'm aware. Stay public. Log everything. Call me before you go. Sofia typed back. Going tomorrow, 10 a.m. Lobby only. Glassroom only. Will call 10:45. If nitrogen monoxide, call. Contact HGL Legal Plus Press. She hit send. Her fingers didn't shake. Her insides did. A little. She let the fear exist without letting it drive. That evening, as planned, Sofia returned to HGL after Mr. Devlin emailed Nina with the time window, and after Nina confirmed she'd be on standby. Sofia carried her receipt and her log. She walked through the lobby with her chin level. Grant wasn't there this time, but Dana Pierce was, waiting near the reception desk, face tight. Sofia, Dana said, and her voice held less patronizing smoothness than before. We need to speak. Here. Sofia said. In public. Dana nodded once. Conference room, she said. Glass. Inside the glass room, Dana slid a folder towards Sofia. We located a holding bay, Dana said. We have reason to believe multiple non-rev shipments were rerouted. We are initiating, Sofia cut in. Where is my box? Dana's mouth tightened. It appears to be among recovered inventory, she admitted. We're arranging delivery. Sofia waited. Dana continued, voice careful. We also delivered replacement supplies as a stopgap. Sofia's eyes narrowed. With strings. Dana hesitated. A representative may have provided. Sofia leaned forward slightly. Say it. Dana exhaled. They provided a standard release, she said. A confidentiality clause. Sofia's jaw tightened. They tried to buy silence, she said, not as accusation, as fact. Dana's gaze flickered down. Yes, she said, quiet. Sofia's voice stayed calm, but the calm sharpened into something that could cut. Tell Grant Hale that if anyone brings an NDA to a shelter again, I will staple it to the receipt and hand both to a reporter. Dana swallowed. Understood. Sofia tapped her log. What's the plan that changes this? She asked. Not just patches it. Dana's words came out clipped, like she was reciting commitments that had been forced into existence. Independent audit, she said. External compliance firm. Full access. Restitution program. Public tracking dashboard for all aid shipments. Sofia held Dana's gaze. Cost, she said. What does it cost him? Dana's eyes tightened. The board is requiring executive bonus clawbacks, she said. A portion will be placed into an escrow fund for restitution, managed by an outside administrator. Also, we're accepting contract penalties where agencies choose to suspend or terminate, and Grant is cooperating with investigators. He will testify if subpoenaed. That landed like weight. Not just a promise, a wound. Sofia nodded once, satisfied enough to keep going. Good, she said. Dana shifted. Grant would like to speak with you, she said. On speakerphone, Sofia said, with Nina and Mr. Devlin present. Dana nodded. I can arrange that. Sofia stood. Do it now, she said. And no surprises. They called from the conference room. Dana placed the phone on the table and tapped speaker. Sofia didn't touch the device. She didn't want her fingerprints on their control. Nina and Mr. Devlin joined on the line. Grant's voice came through a second later, controlled, low. This is Grant Hale, he said. This is Sofia, Sofia replied. Grant didn't waste time. The call was short, compressed, sharp, like an admission filed as fact. I'm sorry, Grant said. I created a protocol that made this possible, and my company used it to reroute aid shipments. That harm is on me. Sofia didn't soften. Grant continued. We are delivering recovered inventory to impacted shelters starting today, including Harper Street's original shipment, where intact. We are funding an escrow restitution pool using executive bonus clawbacks, administered independently. There will be no NDAs, no gag clauses, no confidentiality requirements tied to restitution. Nina's voice cut in, firm. We want that in writing, she said. You'll have it, Grant said. Within hours, Sofia's voice stayed flat. And the person who did it. My coup has been terminated, Grant said. Others will follow as the audit confirms involvement. We're cooperating with authorities. If subpoenaed, I will testify. Sofia held the silence a beat. Don't come to the shelter, she said. A pause. Then Grant's voice came back, quieter, but still controlled. Understood, he said. No appearances, no cameras, no using your shelter for image repair. You'll get proof through documents and deliveries. Sofia nodded once, even though he couldn't see it. Good, she said. Grant didn't ask for gratitude. He didn't try to extend the conversation. Thank you for making it visible, he said. And then, like he'd heard her boundaries the first time, he ended it clean. Goodbye. Sofia hung up first. Nina exhaled on the line, a tight release. You did well, she told Sofia, then corrected herself. Professional. Your boundaries were clear. Keep them. Sofia didn't respond with pride. She responded with logistics. Send the writing, she said to Dana. Today. Dana nodded once. Yes. Back at the shelter, the replacement delivery attempt came into sharper focus when Mr. Devlin showed Nina the paper the HGL representative had tried to slide under the clipboard. It was titled, Release of Claims and Confidentiality. A line near the bottom read, Recipient agrees to make no further statements regarding the incident. Sofia stared at it, then at Mr. Devlin. He looked ashamed. I didn't sign, he said quickly. I didn't. I know, Sofia said. But that's what they do. She tapped the line with her finger. They wanted quiet. Nina photocopied it and filed it with the receipt and the PDF and Sofia's log. This is leverage, Nina said. This shows intent to silence. Sofia didn't smile, but something steady anchored her chest. The stakes weren't just coats anymore. The stakes were power trying to stay clean. That night, Sofia's consequences were small and immediate. A kid in the dorm room next door cried because her mom hadn't come back yet. A volunteer ran out of shampoo. A heater clicked and struggled. Sofia did homework under flickering light and kept checking the clock, waiting for proof that wasn't just words. At Hale Global, Grant sat alone in his office, staring at an internal memo on his laptop. He searched for the exception protocol. The file opened instantly, 2 years old, written in the clean language of optimization. He scanned down until he found it. Apply exception code, PINE, for non-rev transfers to secondary holding. His digital signature sat beneath it. Grant's throat tightened. Panic pressed in. His breathing shortened, then caught. His fingers pressed into the desk until his knuckles paled. He hated this feeling of the world slipping beyond his grip. He forced his breathing to slow, counting the way he'd learned to count when he was a boy, trying not to shake in a shelter line. He stood and opened a drawer he rarely touched. Inside lay an old paper receipt, yellowed at the edges, folded flat like a secret. A shelter donation slipped from when he was 14. He unfolded it carefully and saw his own teenage handwriting on the back. Never. He stared, then looked at Sofia's receipt copy on his desk. Thin paper proof, same cheap fiber, different lives. The same kind of paper that said, this happened, even if someone wants to pretend it didn't. He folded his old receipt again and set it beside Sofia's copy, aligning the corners like he was aligning realities. He didn't become kind in that moment. He became honest with himself, in a way that hurt. The next morning, the board met. Grant didn't give them a long presentation. He gave them the sharpest facts. Off-ledger Bay, Pine permissions, rerouted aid shipments, federal contract exposure, Malcolm's involvement, his own signature. Ellen Maris, the board chair, watched him with eyes like cut glass. You created the lane, she said. You created the hiding place. Grant nodded once. Yes, then the cost must be real, Ellen said. Not a press release, not a donation. Teeth. Grant's jaw tightened. He didn't argue. He didn't bargain. Executive bonus clawbacks, he said. Escrow fund. Independent administrator. Contract penalties accepted. Full cooperation with investigators. A board member snapped, that will burn shareholder value. Grant's voice stayed low. We built value on a lie, he said. We're paying it back. Ellen leaned forward. And Malcolm. Terminated, Grant said. Today. And you, Ellen said, and that word carried threat. Are you resigning? Grant's panic spiked. Control threatened, identity threatened. Then he forced it down by choosing the harder path. No, he said, not to escape. I'll stay to implement structural change under oversight. If the board removes me, that's your decision. I'm not running. Ellen studied him a long beat. Then you will do this publicly, she said. You will admit it plainly. You will not hide behind bad actor language. You will accept that investigators may subpoena you. Grant nodded once, stiff. Understood. Sofia's world didn't pause for board decisions. That afternoon, the shelter's pantry ran low on cereal. Sofia helped a volunteer sort canned goods by expiration date. She didn't tell anyone she'd been on a speakerphone with a billionaire. Nobody needed that story. They needed food organized so the little kids ate first. When the shelter phone rang, Mr. Devlin answered with Nina beside him, both on alert now, not afraid, just ready. Sofia watched from the doorway, arms crossed, listening to the cadence of adult voices that had learned to demand. After the call, Mr. Devlin held up an email printout. They sent the commitments, he said, voice unsteady. Nina read quickly, then nodded once. No NDAs, she confirmed. Escrow fund, bonus clawbacks, audit firm, named, public dashboard, timeline. Cooperation, language explicit. Sofia exhaled, a small release she didn't allow to become hope yet. Deliveries, she said, that's the proof. 2 days later, Hale Global held a press conference. Grant stood behind a podium with the HGL logo, shoulders squared, face controlled. The lights were bright enough to make anyone sweat. He didn't wipe his forehead. He didn't smile. His left hand flexed once, almost invisible, then stilled. I'm Grant Hale, he said, CEO of Hale Global Logistics. He didn't spend long on framing. He cut straight into the blade. Our company discovered evidence that non-revenue aid shipments intended for shelters were rerouted through an internal exception lane and diverted, he said. This was wrong. It was a breach of trust. It was fraud. Reporters shouted questions. He lifted a hand. The room quieted, hungry. I terminated our chief operating officer, Malcolm Reeve, for his role in this misconduct, he said. A surge of noise. Cameras clicked harder. Grant didn't let the storm carry him away. He drove through it. This did not happen in a vacuum, he said. 2 years ago, I approved an operational protocol designed to reroute non-revenue shipments through secondary corridors to reduce congestion. That protocol created an opportunity for abuse. I failed to see it, and I am responsible for that failure. The room erupted again. Someone yelled, "Did you know it was happening?" Grant's jaw tightened, and the tightening was a physical sign of the fight inside him, the fight to keep control by withholding truth. He chose the truth anyway. I did not authorize theft, he said, but I authorized a system that hid what I didn't want to look at. That is on me. He named the cost so it couldn't be softened later. Executive bonuses will be clawed back and placed into an escrow restitution fund administered independently, he said. We are accepting contract penalties and suspensions where agencies decide we no longer qualify. We have hired an independent audit firm with full access to our records. We are cooperating with authorities, and I will comply with subpoenas and testify if required. A reporter shouted, "Are you forcing shelters to sign NDAs?" Grant's eyes sharpened. "No," he said. "We will not require NDAs, releases, or confidentiality clauses tied to restitution. If any representative offered such language, it was wrong, and it is prohibited effective immediately. Restitution will not be purchased with silence. That line landed like a door slamming. Grant continued, concise. We will launch a public tracking dashboard for all aid shipments, accessible to recipient organizations, with end-to-end scan verification and independent oversight. This company will be rebuilt with transparency. Statements are not enough. Proof will be public. He stepped back from the microphone and walked off, leaving the lights behind. At the shelter, the small TV showed the clip, then replayed it again, with pundits arguing. Sofia watched once, then turned away. She didn't need commentators. She needed trucks. The first trucks arrived a week later, not glossy brand moments, not staged. Multiple vehicles, and with them, auditors in reflective vests, carrying clipboards, and cameras that pointed at pallets, not faces. The shelter's front entrance, filled with boxes, labeled winter kits, hygiene, medical. Some pallets held the original shipment, Harper Street Shelter, printed on labels that looked like they'd traveled, and been stopped, and traveled again. Sofia stood to the side, arms crossed, eyes scanning. Mr. Devlin signed paperwork, but this time he didn't sign anything that said no further statements. Nina read every line before the pen touched paper. Auditors photographed seals. A manifest listed quantities. A tracking sheet included scan times. The wheezing boy, Oscar, stood nearby, in a thin sweatshirt, eyes wide as coats came in. He hugged himself, not from shyness, from cold. Sofia walked over and crouched beside him, keeping her voice soft. Pick one, she told him. Oscar stared at the coats like they were a wall of color. Can I? He whispered. Yes, Sofia said. You can. Oscar picked a blue coat that looked too big. Sofia checked the tag, then guided him toward a smaller one, without making him feel wrong. Try this, she said. Oscar slid his arms in. The coat fit. He smiled so hard his cheeks pushed up into his eyes. His breathing still wheezed when he laughed, but it sounded less desperate in warmth. Sofia stood, watching him move. Her chest tightened, then steadied. This was the consequence beat. Corporate rooms didn't show. One kid's lungs getting a little less punished by cold. An auditor approached Nina and Mr. Devlin, then glanced at Sofia. Are you Sofia Alvarez? She asked. Sofia's posture stiffened slightly. Yes, she said. I'm Marisol Chen, the auditor said. Independent team. This shipment, this pattern, will be documented fully. Your receipt made a clean line we can follow. Sofia didn't want praise. You're shutting the shadow bay, she said. Marisol nodded once. It's sealed pending investigation, she said. And the system permissions are being rebuilt from scratch, under external review. Sofia's gaze held. Good, she said. The dashboard went live 2 weeks later. Nina printed the link and taped it inside the shelter office. Under it, she taped the sentence from Grant's written commitment. No confidentiality conditions tied to restitution. Other shelters called Nina. Nina took the calls, made introductions, started a coalition. Sofia listened from doorways, learning how adults sounded when they weren't afraid. Sofia's own life didn't turn into an advertisement. Her mom still worked too many hours. The shelter still ran out of shampoo sometimes. The pasta still got overcooked. The paint still chipped, but boxers arrived on schedule. They could be tracked. They couldn't disappear quietly. One afternoon, Sofia sat at the wobbly table, with her notebook open, updating her log. Delivery received. Original, additional auditor, present. Manifest verified. NDAI. Attempt, documented. Dashboard, active. She underlined the last part twice. Mr. Devlin stepped into the room holding a letter. They sent another, he said, cautious. Sofia looked up. From who? Hale Global's restitution administrator, Mr. Devlin said. Not Grant, not the PR team, the independent administrator. Nina took it first, read quickly, then nodded. It's a scholarship fund for impacted shelter kids, she said, administered independently. No publicity requirements. No photos. No testimonials. Sofia's eyes narrowed. No strings, she said. None stated. Nina replied. And will confirm. Mr. Devlin hesitated. They asked if you'd meet Grant, he admitted. Sofia's answer came fast and clean. No. Mr. Devlin nodded quickly, relieved to have clarity. I told them you didn't want Sofia, cut him off gently. I don't owe him my face, she said. He owes the shelters a system that doesn't steal. Nina watched Sofia with a steady respect that didn't become sentiment. That boundary is valid, Nina said. Sofia returned to her notebook. If he asks again, she said, tell him the dashboard is the meeting, across town, in a federal building that smelled like old carpet and paperwork. Grant Hale sat at a table with counsel beside him. A subpoena folder lay open. His name was typed in bold. He answered questions. He didn't charm. He didn't dodge. When asked about the protocol, he admitted the signature. When asked about oversight failures, he admitted the culture he'd built. His jaw stayed tight. His left hand flexed under the table once, then stilled. Panic sat at the edge of his throat like a held breath, but he kept speaking anyway. That was his cost with teeth. Not just money, but exposure in an official record that couldn't be polished. Outside the building, cameras waited, but he didn't stop for them. He didn't get to choose the narrative anymore. Back at the shelter, Sofia wasn't watching the cameras. She was watching Oscar run in his blue coat down the hallway, laughing, then stopping to cough, then laughing again. She watched a volunteer hang a printed manifest on a clipboard like it mattered. She watched Nina teach Mr. Devlin how to refuse standard releases without sounding apologetic. Sofia's influence was in those small changes, adults learning to demand proof, kids staying warmer, systems getting dragged into sunlight. On a cold evening, Sofia sat on the shelter's front steps with her notebook on her knees. Streetlights hummed, cars passed. The air bit at her fingers, but not as badly now that coats were inside. Mr. Devlin came out with 2 paper cups of hot chocolate and sat beside her without crowding. He offered one like it was normal, not a reward. Sofia took it. Thanks, she said. Simple. They sat a moment, the warmth steaming up between them. Mr. Devlin cleared his throat. Do you regret it? He asked. Sofia stared into her cup. She thought of marble floors and glass walls, of the NDA paper on the clipboard, of the first truck, of Oscar's smile. No, she said. Mr. Devlin's shoulders loosened, just slightly. Sofia added, quiet and sharp, with truth, but I'm tired. Mr. Devlin's eyes glistened. He looked away quickly. I know, he whispered. Sofia didn't want pity. She wanted a promise that adults would stop waiting for kids to carry what adults were supposed to carry. Next time, Sofia said, an adult does it first. Mr. Devlin nodded, shame and resolve mixing. Next time, he said, we do. Sofia took a sip of hot chocolate. It was too sweet and a little watery, but it was warm. She let that warmth exist without turning it into fantasy. Help had arrived, but it wasn't rescue. It was structure, clawbacks in escrow, penalties accepted, audits with teeth, a public dashboard, and a paper trail that couldn't be quietly shredded. Grant Hale didn't adopt anyone. He didn't get a clean hero ending. He got a public record and a company rebuilt under oversight, and the knowledge that a child's crumpled receipt had exposed the lie he'd taught his system to live by. Sofia kept her boundary. She didn't meet him. She didn't become a photo. She didn't become a mascot for a billionaire's conscience. She became what she already was, a dignified, intelligent kid who refused pity, who planned for her own safety, who used paper-proof and public space to force power to pay attention. Inside the shelter, the dashboard link stayed taped to the wall. Under it, the confiscated NDA sheet remained photocopied and filed as a reminder of what silence costs. Outside, winter kept moving through the city, cold and indifferent. Inside, when aid shipments moved, they arrived, and if they didn't, someone could prove why. Sofia closed her notebook, stood, and went back inside, leaving the cold behind her for one more night. Not because the world had changed into kindness, but because the world had been forced into accountability.